Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. Thank you for joining me. So today we're looking at the NP01s. I want to say a big thank you to Vaxee for sending it out. I really appreciate that support. Let's get into the video. The NP01s is my first experience with the Vaxee brand, and I've been really impressed with the whole experience so far. I wasn't expecting to like the NP01s as much as I did, due mostly to it being quite small. It's pretty similar in length to the EC3CW, but also has a much lower profile. This mouse appears to be somewhat divisive in the community. It's fair, I think, to suggest this is because of the asymmetrical shape. It can be a little confusing how to approach it in terms of grip, because it doesn't force you into any specific grip style, and it will likely make you use an adaptation of one of your previous grips. Your previous grips won't necessarily translate perfectly to this mouse. Prior to the NP01s arriving, I've been using the EC1 CW almost exclusively, which, if you aren't aware, it's one of the biggest ergo mice on the market, and the EC1 also boasts an asymmetrical shape with the typical ergo elements on both sides. That's the drawn out finger rests on the right hand side and the nice and comfortable thumb groove on the left hand side. The NP01s also has these shape elements, and I think that's why I like the design so much. It feels like a hybrid between two of my favourite mice. I'd say that's the MZ1 wireless with that nice comfortable thumb groove and that low profile, and the EC series with that nice ergo style on the right hand side. The reason why I refer to this as similar to the MZ1 is because I approached gripping it in a similar way. When I got the MZ1, I was exclusively fingertipping it, but over time, I was exploring different grip approaches with that mouse, and I really wanted to try a sort of palm grip approach, as Rocket Jump Ninja designed it with that in mind, to hug the natural curves of the mouse with my hand. But the right hand side of the MZ1 felt a bit crowded in that approach, and the mouse was quite narrow too. Finally, the hump sat very far forward in my hand, which was kind of directly under my knuckles, which at that point in time I didn't like. When I tried the same grip approach with the NP01s, it fixed all of the issues I experienced with the MZ1 wireless. The hump naturally sits further back in my hand, which gives me more control and stability. It's a touch wider too, and the right hand side of the NP01s offers some nice finger rests and placement options, so I don't have to pinch the mouse so hard when gripping. This is the best and most comfortable grip I could find with the NP01s, and honestly, I've been feeling extremely accurate in game. Genuinely feeling that my aim has been at its best with this mouse. And I'll come back to this later in the video. Although I've been using palm grip with this mouse, it's possibly not a typical palm grip that I use, because in places there is some space between my hand and the hump, so it could be more of a really relaxed claw, but I need to get my mouse grip encyclopedia out for this one. Fortunately, I've got my mouse grip encyclopedia here. Oh, touch some grass log, you nerd. Seems a little bit combative, although like and subscribe sounds good. Anyway, let's get back to it. I also had a really good time fingertipping this mouse. It's a similar experience to fingertipping an ergo mouse, with those ergo shapes being useful for finger placement if you grip towards the back end. However, if you grip towards the front, you probably need medium to large hands to pull it off, because you'll experience a lot of palm contact if you don't have large hands. So let's talk about the specs and the build quality. So the mouse is plug and play, which is great if you don't want a load of mouse software on your computer. You can adjust all the usual settings for different button combinations on the bottom of the mouse. It offers a really good battery life. It's advertised at 100 hours in standard mode and 55 hours in competitive mode, which in my opinion is perfectly adequate. It weighs in about 69 grams. Nice. In fact, he does it better.
Nice.
The weight is higher than most modern mice, but personally I like it. It feels pretty light to me, and I'd put this down to the way the mouse is balanced. It's balanced perfectly, in my opinion. When we talk about mouse weight, in my experience, it's only really noticeable or detrimental to your aim when you get into that high 80-gram range, or if the weight, regardless of how low it is, isn't balanced properly. The mouse also boasts a 3395 sensor, and it uses Huano 60-gram switches and a mechanical encoder for the scroll wheel. In terms of what all that means in practice, it's been a real joy to use this mouse. Buttons 1 and 2 on the mouse are tensioned really well. There's acceptable levels of pre and post travel on my unit, and they're light and spammable, which I like a lot. The side buttons look like they're too close together, And when you hold the mouse, it can feel difficult to tell the difference between mouse 4 and 5 because they just kind of flow into each other. But I haven't actually had a single misclick in game, and I guess my grip approach helps here. I slide my thumb up slightly, and if I want to use mouse 4, I click the tip of my thumb. If I want mouse 5, I click with the knuckle of my thumb. It's not an actual issue for me when I use it, but when I held it for the first time in my hand, I thought I would have a problem with the side buttons being so close together. The tensioning of the side buttons also feels great. They're very tactile and responsive, no complaints there at all. The scroll wheel is possibly my favourite implementation so far. It's tactile, not too sharp, the steps are satisfying and the actuation isn't too heavy. It's quite a nice button. I'd summarise the button experience by saying I don't notice them in game. Some of my mice have heavier clicks, mushy or unreliable side buttons, a stiffer scroll wheel, and this can distract you from what's happening in game from time to time. When I play games, I don't want to be distracted by my peripherals. I want to be completely absorbed in the gameplay and for my equipment to be super reliable. The NP01s is that mouse for me. It's all just really well balanced in my opinion, and the mouse functions exactly how I'd expect. And it being so good makes me look at some of my other mice slightly differently now, because I won't accept distractions from other peripherals going forward. The coating on the NP01s has also impressed me a lot. It's really premium, it feels quite grippy, and compared to bare plastic, it's a sort of rubbery, chalkish feeling. I haven't put any grip tape on the mouse because I haven't needed to. I really like the grip that the mouse offers out of the box. So moving into performance, I have been really consistent with this mouse. And I put that down to the mouse basically doing what I want it to, minimizing those distractions. It helps me to stay in flow when I'm gaming. I also have a lot of contact between my hand and the mouse, and this serves to provide just a mega amount of control and stability. I really have been shredding in my games and I've been enjoying it a lot. I've been playing predominantly Apex Legends, and both my tracking and flicking have felt really good in that high time to kill game. So is there anything that I don't like about the NP01s? And the only criticism I have is it would probably be even more comfortable for me if there was a larger option available. I do find this mouse very comfortable as it is, but my fingers do hang off the ends sometimes. That's more of a selfish observation though. I don't think the mouse will be too small for most people that try it. It's not too small for me to use either. I just think it would be even better if it was a little bit bigger. So what's next? Am I going to main the NP01s? What I'm planning to do is I plan to just park my EC1 for a few weeks and play predominantly with the NP01s to get a longer term perspective on how it feels to play with and whether any of these things change over time. I also have a Vaxee XE coming in the post next week. I bought one second hand for about £80, and I'll cover the NP01s longer term observations and the XE wireless review or initial impressions in a single video down the line. So stay tuned if you want to hear how it all turns out on this NP01s Vaxee brand journey. As a closing statement, I wish I hadn't slept on the Vaxee brand for as long as I have. Genuinely can't wait to try their later releases. The NP01 is a touch bigger than the NP01s, which may just means it ticks the endgame box for me. And the Vaxee AX appears to be a higher profile EC2, which I'm also really keen to try. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon.